Cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon. Call 800-633-9110 or visit creoninfo.com to learn more. That's CREONinfo.com.
I'm asking my doctor about EPI and if Creon could help.
Well, it's Leland with Leland Live. I could live in my pole barn. In fact, some people do. They call them barn dominiums nowadays. Last week, I got to tour a factory called All American Metal Components. Wow. These are local guys. They've been in business for 25 years. They make everything, and I mean every component of metal buildings. These are structural engineered buildings, pre-engineered just for you if you're a contractor or if you're residential and you need a pole barn or a barn dominium, specialty buildings like mini storage, retail storefronts. They've got the whole thing. Framing, secondary framing, clips, caulk, anchor bolts, insulation.
If you are sunny side up, one foot in front of the other, and can understand the words coming out of my mouth, we made it to the weekend, y'all. It's Friday, and you are listening to another episode of the Breaking Bread radio program right here on Birmingham's Real Talk, Talk 99.5, live, as always, from the Redland Rifle Studios, Highway 280. This beautiful new studio about to be furnished by the fine folks at Lania's Furniture Company in Kimberly, Alabama. Father's Day is almost here, and if you've not decided what to get Dad yet, Lania's has a great selection of Lazy Boys. Not them off-brand name brands that are going to break down after a minute. Lazy Boy recliners, $3.99 in stock. Go get you one and tell your daddy how much you love them. Lania's Furniture Company, 9038 US 31, Kimberly, Alabama, 205-647-4311, or you can visit them online at laniasfurniturecompany.com. That's LAUNIUS, furniturecompany.com. Normally, we toss things over to AJ so we can keep things moving with Crocker Movement Services, but it looks like
you still can.
Oh, you are? Okay, you're there. I didn't see you, so I wasn't sure.
No, I'm here. Okay, so I mean, we all know we do the whole spiel about when we're having the transition from room to room, and so I have to get on my phone to be able to get on the stream, but I also need my phone until I pull up my laptop. So I was just trying to do a whole bunch of things, but I am here. So you don't. Yeah, so
well, consider it tossed.
Yes. All right. Whoa.
Was that Darian?
It is.
Yes.
From the sausage to the salad.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness.
See, Darian, he's we're rubbing up on him right
He's
now.
coming in hot.
Coming in hot in the beginning. Normally it's either Will or myself, and sometimes JD.
Yeah.
But Darian is bringing it today.
I bet he hadn't listened to as much soul.
Here, let me hit it for you. Let me hit it for you real quick. Chill out, man. Chill out.
Come on, dog. Come on.
Pause, man. Come on,
pause.
man.
We ain't finna do that right now.
Somebody play some brandy and make me feel better.
I feel like crying right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and play some of these R&B jams.
Oh, wow.
I'm feeling the mood because I'm about to get married next month. You know what I'm saying?
Hey man, chill out.
All right, but we're gonna keep things moving. CrockerMovingServices.com. CrockerMovingServices.com. Great moving company. Look, I just love the efficiency that they offer. I also just enjoy when they say they're going to do something, they're going to do it, and that's one thing about Eric Crocker. I mean, when you have your name just in big bold letters on the side of a truck,
huge.
Right, huge. You want to make sure that your name is represented right, and so he does everything right from hiring to the stuff that he uses to help with the move. Just systematically, just everything, every detail. It's just yeah. He makes moving fun again. I'm just going to say that that's what he does. So if you want a professional moving company that's going to help you with your move, no matter how big or small. I mean, look, if you just need some stuff moved in your house from room to room, they can do it. Storage, they can do it. Place to place, they can do it. State to state, city to city, obviously, they can do it. So when you're ready to make that move, reach out to the moving professionals. That's CrockerMovingServices.com, CrockerMovingServices.com. All right, so okay, so I've been having this conversation lately. So I've been going to Allen and Company. They've been working on some stuff for me, and in the midst there, so one of Allen's daughter, Brooke, she was telling me some food items. So I walked in there one day, and she was eating a tomato sandwich.
Yes.
That they got from the food market that was like right down the street. So very a banana and mayonnaise sandwich.
Absolutely not. That is diabolical.
And they were like, oh, this is like really, really good. And this is something that's a staple in the South. Now, I don't know what part of the South it's a staple in, but they swear up and down that a banana mayonnaise sandwich on white bread.
I mean, that's
the
the
way
only
to go.
that's the best kind of bread, by the way. But what kind of staple are we talking about? Like, is this like a red stapler? I mean, this is.
The swing line, you know.
I mean,
Right. I don't know.
I've never heard of
listen,
this.
And to be fair, there are lots of people in the South that swear that the red clay that you can go dig up in your backyard is delicious. So-
People do that.
People
You
do
know?
that.
Yeah, people do that.
Yeah. So you can take that with a grain of starch or a spoon of cornstarch, whichever you prefer.
I knew a guy who literally will boil rice, right, and then take that rice water and then use it as starch for their clothes.
That's
now
real.
he was,
No, that's real. That's,
yeah,
that's,
yeah,
that's a
but
real
he would
thing.
smell like rice.
Look.
Yeah, he gonna smell like rice, but that's a real
How long
thing.
did you spend at the Chinese buffet today, dog? Come.
Dog.
You leave now, you be here 4 hours. You need to eat more vegetable.
Go.
That's why you so fat. You scare my wife.
Look,
Straight like that.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and there's 2 Marines here in the studio on the show right now, and we talk about starching clothes. There is no level of crazy that the Marine Corps does not know when it comes to starching things. I mean, those things will
y'all have to
stand
be
up.
right.
Oh man,
Y'all pants can walk without y'all being in them.
they they can.
I love it. So I'm assuming this is a no when it comes to a banana and mayonnaise sandwich, right?
No, that's a hell no.
I mean, I'll give it a shot.
That's a page on Facebook called Hell to the Null.
Right,
what
and
that
then they said pineapple and mayonnaise. I said, come on, man, y'all
no.
just making stuff up
A
now.
little more tolerable, but only if you're carrying triplets.
Now I did bring
You
up the
real
whole
hungry.
snoot. I did bring up the whole snoot, and they kind of gave me the side eye when I said snoot. And I was like, oh, but y'all okay with the whole banana and mayonnaise sandwich? But,
Yeah.
but when I
We
say
just
What
had
is
snoot,
We
snoot?
just had a caller call in. Sheila just called in and said, we have to try a banana and mayo sandwich. Do not knock it till you try it.
I don't
No,
have
I'm
to
not
do
gonna-
nothing
I'm
but
not
breathe and die. So, like,
I'm gonna get that
that's
put on the
that's a
super
hard
secret
pass
menu.
for me.
yeah,
No, absolutely not.
that is not finna happen.
Yeah. Now I have a syrup sandwich, which I know about the syrup
Oh, yeah.
sandwich.
Come on now, you act like you done invented something new. Now, of
just
course,
sounds
obviously,
messy.
we've had syrup sandwiches. I made my own donut where I put the jelly in there and then put the little cinnamon sugar on the white bread, and then pop that bad boy and cooking in some butter, toasted a little bit, made you a homemade jelly sandwich, jelly donut. So yeah, come on now, we've done
Yeah,
that.
man, listen,
been
I'm
there,
from-
done that.
I'm from Rats, Roaches, and in welfare. Syrup sandwich is reserved for payday. Okay.
Right. Right.
That's
You
that's
can
that's the
splurge.
every 2 weeks you get dessert. You know,
Mm.
and it's some syrup.
Yes. All right. Real quick before time gets by us, flaming Cheetos, which I've never actually had. I love the story. Allegedly, the story that supposedly have happened with the whole flaming dust and Cheetos and all this stuff. But they're coming out with a flaming hot pretzel bites for the summer. That's one thing I really like, eating hot stuff in the summer.
I can get behind
that-
that. I
that
like the
sounds very
flaming
appetizing.
Cheetos. I like those. I'm gonna give those a shot.
They're
You
pretty
like flaming
good.
Cheetos?
I do.
They're
I
pretty
do.
good in prison
Okay.
burritos.
I'll probably have that as a side to my banana and mayonnaise sandwich that I get at Chubb Father's here soon.
Oh man! All right, and then there's some other stories, but we're running out of time, so I'm gonna just do this last one. I think this one will be I might want to try this, but this is in Japan, so you have to travel. They are coming out with a pickle burger. Now, with this burger is a Burger King Japan, and so basically, it's like the sushi rice as bread. And then there's 3 patties, and then between the third patty, well, second and third patty, and then below the third patty and the rice bread is pickles.
This just sounds like a hamburger with a rice bun.
Yeah,
Basically, that's what it is.
I mean,
I'm just trying to figure out how in the hell they get people in Japan to come to work at Burger King, and we can't do it. I mean, we can't.
they got work ethic over there.
All their
Yeah.
damn McDonald's milkshake machines probably work too.
Yeah.
they do, and they're clean. You ain't got to worry about the roaches climbing out of the milkshake.
The Japanese or the milkshake machines?
Both.
So you guys have sparked something. The call I've had that was the fifth caller about this mayonnaise and banana sandwich, and that we all need to try it. And Will, this is a message from Bill. He said you ain't got a hair on your nut sack if you don't try.
Okay, we need to dump that part.
Well, that's actual.
It's always good when the producer needs to dump the producer.
Thanks to a little company called.
He forgot that. He forgot it was on
he thought
the
he was
SEC
on
radio station.
Yeah. Thanks to a little device called Manscaped.
Manscaped.
He's correct, so I don't have to try that nastiness. I'm my own personal lawn care service. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. All right.
Let's catch this break, y'all.
All right. So if you don't know, now you know.
You're listening to the Breaking Bread radio program on Talk 99.5. We'll be back if they let us. Stay tuned. Vapor Forge, Highway 280 next to Bailey Brothers Music, bringing us back, just like they helped me bring back my taste, my breath, and my lack of stankage. That's right. I put down the cigarettes over 2 years ago, and I could not be more happy. I am no longer rocking the nicotine in my vape either, so here in about 6 months, I get to have blood work done and hopefully reduce the cost of my life insurance premium. So if you smoke cigarettes for way too long and you're ready to quit, go see the folks at Vapor Forge, Highway 280. All the information you need can be found at vaporforge.com. We are joined today in studio by Mr. Jason Smith from Safer Together. What is Safer Together, you might ask? Well, that's why he's here, so that I don't have to mess it up while telling you. Jason, thank you for your service, and thanks for being here and for what you're doing. So we just got a couple minutes until the next break. Give people a genuine, general rundown about what Safer Together is and why.
Yeah, sure. So thank you, guys. I'm grateful to be here tonight. Safer Together stands for Storing Ammunition and Firearms to Enhance Resiliency. As you all know, in the veteran military community, even in our first responder community, Safer Together is designed for those three. If they're dealing with high-risk transitional issues, maybe suicide ideations, all the things that come with high-risk things that lead to suicide, giving them an opportunity and a space to secure a firearm while they go and seek help without fear of losing their Second Amendment right or being, losing their gun rights or ability to buy a firearm in the future. It's voluntary, it's temporary, it's confidential. Working directly with the FFLs through what's called the Houston Hunter Act, we just got passed this year in the Senate. Senate Bill 40 passed. Houston Tumlin was a soldier with the 101st. If you ever saw Talladega Nights, he was Ricky Bobby's oldest son. Took his life about 5 years ago. He's right up from Pell City, him and his family. So we named the bill. Half of the bill is named after him. And the other bill is named after Hunter Whitley. Hunter Whitley was in the Marine Corps. He was at Abbey Gate during the withdrawal from Afghanistan. He was also a student at the University of Alabama. He was also on the Iron Ruck with us a few years ago, and unfortunately took his life as well. So the namesake for the Houston Hunter comes from them two young men who were both here from Alabama. And the whole thing with the act, the Houston Hunter Act, is basically to protect the FFLs or the gun store, those federal firearms licensees, kind of like Redland Rifles and the 1,400 other FFLs we've got in the state. So when that veteran military member or first responder drops that weapon off, it's, God forbid, something happens later on when they come back and get it, the store can't be held liable. So it's a liability act. We actually got it from Louisiana. They had a Senate Bill 260, and that's where we got it from.
Awesome. Well, I'm seriously looking forward to diving into this subject a little bit more. Well, a lot more. But we got to take a break. So y'all stay tuned. You're listening to the Breaking Bread radio program right here on Birmingham's Real Talk 99.5. And hopefully you're watching the stream on the Chubb Fathers Facebook page, the Breaking Bread radio Facebook page, the Chubb Fathers Twitter, the Redland Rifle Twitter, the Breaking Bread radio Twitter, and on our YouTube channel, Breaking Bread Radio AL. Make sure you hit like, smash, and subscribe. We are grateful to you as always. Holla back at your folks. We'll be back in a minute. Some Breaking Bread Radio Show.
Welcome back to Breaking Bread. You are listening to the sweet tunes of Garth Brooks, I think that is.
I just knew I just knew he was bringing us back to No We Have No Banana.
We definitely don't have a banana. But anyways, so we are sitting here with Jason Smith from Safer Together, and we've kind of been looking forward to this for a little while. And by the way, I appreciate you rescheduling with us for sure. Yeah. So we got a little rundown of what it was before the break. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be some naysayers out there and all this sort of stuff, but I can tell you right now that I am an absolute Second Amendment.
Absolutist.
Yeah, an absolutist. I was
You
trying not
own-
to use
you own the
absolute
gun store.
twice. So there's going to be some naysayers out there, but at the end of the day, y'all have started, or not necessarily, at least in Alabama, because this isn't necessarily a new idea, but I think y'all have started something really cool here that it's going to help, right?
We hope so, for sure.
I mean, there's the number of people that may use this. It's not going to be like a giant number out of the gate, but the more we get this out, but really what we're doing is we're really trying to prevent the 22 per day go up.
Yeah, 22 a day. Whether the number it fluctuates.
does
right? It might be more in the 30s or 40s, depending on what study you read, who you're talking to. So.
Right. And so if you're not familiar with 22 a day, what that is that's the number of veterans that commit suicide every day in this country. And what is the number in Alabama alone?
Like last year, we had 149 based off the numbers of veterans that took their life. 86% of that was by firearms. Across the nation, the numbers still haven't gone down. If you look at Iraq, Afghanistan, OEF, OIF, 5,300 plus brave men and women we lost during that 20 years, during that same time span. We've lost about 35,000 that we know to suicide, not counting the ones that we don't know if it was a suicide attempt.
Wait, say those numbers again?
Yep, so 5,300. One thing is 5,272 we lost in OIF, OEF, Iraq and Afghanistan in 20 years. In that same time frame, we've lost about 35,000 veterans. So you're looking at a 1 in 5, 1 in 6
Holy cow.
ratio.
That's crazy.
If you look around, the first responder numbers are high. Farmers in this country are high. But the military itself, it's a real high number. And I don't think it's anything new. I think there's a lot more light shined on it because of social media and a lot more awareness to it.
Well, but Alabama, the state of Alabama, don't we contribute more people to the military than any other state? So we're kind of carrying a higher per capita on that, right?
Yeah, I'm sure we're in the top 5. We rank up there with Ohio and the Appalachians and stuff like that. I'm not sure what the exact number is, but we have over 400,000 veterans that live in the state of Alabama.
Really?
That's
like
huge,
10% of our population.
It's a huge number. It's a huge number.
That's absolutely insane. So
when you're talking about suicide and my folks is military, Air Force, and they've done a lot of service overseas. And I was talking to my brother one day, and he was just talking about some of the stuff he could tell me. But there's a lot of emotional stuff that happens. Whether it's with not being around your family, to a lot of the stuff that may happen or what they have to do while they're out serving our country to make sure that we're safe. So what are some of the signs should people see when it comes to, I guess, one of the first steps to preventing, situations like this?
Yeah, sure. I think there's a lot of risk factors that go into the suicide ideations and the actual completion attempts. It could be multiple factors. If you got a good buddy that just lost a job, or just had a relationship breakup, or a combination. A lot of times these things happen. There's a combination of multiple risk factors. It could be relationship, financial, spiritual, substance use disorder, all of those things combined. The biggest thing I could tell everybody on there listening is call your friends, man. I mean, at the end of the day, we can do all the 22 push-ups a day. We can do all the brochures, talk to your buddies. And I think that's something, that number one sign I see, and it's a great question, is that isolation. And when your friends are isolating, you're not talking to each other, you haven't heard from them in a while, reach out to them, because isolation eventually is going to lead to hopelessness. And when we hit that hopelessness part, that's the indicator right there.
I also want to encourage everyone to, obviously checking on your friends means checking on your friends. Like, there are a lot of people that walk around like nothing is going on. They appear to be the strongest person you know.
Yes.
They deal with the most things. They carry the most weight. They're responsible for the most things. Just because that person looks like they're in control and they've got it going on doesn't mean that they're also not struggling. So check on all your friends, not just the ones that you think are, having issues.
Yeah, and to your point on that, that's a great point. I think a lot of societies, they look at mental health, and when they think about someone who's struggling with drugs or alcohol or having suicidal ideations, they think about somebody who might be homeless or living on a bridge or like they're having all. Majority, I can tell you, I lost 7 buddies to suicide in the Marine Corps, and every one of them were high-functioning people. They had jobs, they had families. You would not know it. You would not pick up on it. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I mean, I did 20 years in the Marine Corps, got out, successful career. People didn't know it, and to your point, check on everybody, because it's our spectrum of that is we don't understand the guy that walks in the gun shop once a month, to come visit you, JD. Y'all probably have great conversations. That might be the one that's struggling,
Yeah.
You just never know.
I mean, we just show up at people's houses and just knock on the. I mean, we don't, but I mean,
So
I mean, it's not a terrible idea.
And it's not. And I grew up with a stepfather who was a Marine, and
Simplify.
that was the route I was going to take if I had went military. But I kind of saw it actually from a very direct perspective. Afghanistan Part 1, 2003, came back home. Him and my mom just didn't vibe again.
Yeah.
And that ended up splitting them, or played a role in them splitting. And so my question, and with you and JD, you guys both being retired Marines, what would you suggest to the family of a soldier or officer or whatever who came back from deployment to help usher them back in to society? Because that's the number one thing I've heard all of my friends and family that have served, is that getting back into that civilian life is always a struggle. It's kind of like an athlete retiring and becoming a quote-unquote normal or regular person. So, like, what would be your advice to the members of the family or the friend group to help in that process?
Yeah, great question. The transition out of the military in its own is a beast. And, while I was downrange playing Marine, my wife was taking care of everything back home with the kids, the doctor's appointments, getting them to school, working a job, making sure the yard was cut. And a lot of times we're out there doing our thing and we forget about the families. And then, my wife and I just celebrated 27 years, thank God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I don't know if that would have happened if I hadn't been gotten sober, right? But that looking at from her lens at me, they didn't know what to say to us. My wife didn't know what to say to me. My children didn't know what. My best friend didn't know what to say to me. It took a lot of coercing, I guess, finally for them to ask me the question and start to get really concerned. So I would say the relationship building when you get back home and the communication piece, right? We talk to our I'm in the National Guard. I work for the National Guard, do resiliency and suicide prevention, and we talk to our soldiers about that connection. Is so important, not only before you leave, but while you're downrange and when you get back. And so, spiritually, whatever you might believe in, if you have a higher power, whatever, I think that's something we're losing right now. I think that we're losing the battle with that. I think there's a missing component of that, no matter what you believe in. But I think getting that family and that service member communicating again as soon as possible and having these open and honest conversations. I think we're past the point, JD, of it's we can't talk about what we're feeling. We kind of grew up in the Marine Corps with a suck it up buttercup mentality. Like nobody wants to hear about it, and that's still true for a lot. Like, you got to move on, but you know what? If you're struggling, man, I need to know because you're on my team.
Right.
I need to know that you're okay, and if not, I'm here to jump in the fight, the fight hole with you and help you out.
That was just what I was about to ask, because growing up, like I said, I grew up in that environment in the late 90s, early 2000s, which would have been around the time that you guys were still actively serving. So do you see the difference in the culture? Because that's the number one thing that everyone talks about in the military is that quote-unquote military culture. Has that changed?
I'm seeing it because I'm with the Guard right now,
Yeah.
doing this stuff and teaching. We just finished up a 4-day resiliency course down at Auburn University on campus. And when you hear these soldiers share some of their experiences, it's not all combat related. It might be family, financial, spiritual, physical, whatever the case may be. But when they start to open up and have these conversations, you can hear the culture slowly starting to change. And I think that makes for a sharper, more lethal person. I know that's a big deal with the administration. I think it's a big deal with the military. That's what our job is. And I believe if somebody can handle their mental health a little bit better, they're more lethal, right? And so I do see the culture starting to change, and that's from the top down too.
So interestingly, you know, I actually thought that was a different question, but like in my head, I was kind of going towards the people that are in the military and how over time it just seems like the older generation are like, man, these new guys suck. Because I remember that when I got in. So I definitely didn't retire out of the Marine Corps. I went from the active duty to reserves, had some broken time, and then I went into the Air National Guard for a little while. And now, obviously, the differences between the two branches is insane. Going from the Marine Corps to the Air National Guard.
Yeah.
But I remember when I got in, all I got in 18, 19 years old, and then you're looking at a sergeant or something that's only like 22, and you think that they're like 1,000 years old. They're so much older than you. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I know that was probably an odd feeling.
Because it is, and like you really just kind of have to be in there to understand how that works. But I heard them all the time, like the staff sergeants, the gunnies. It's like, y'all suck compared to like the way we were. And then of course, the further I got along in the Marine Corps, I'm like, man, these new guys are terrible. Right? Like, oh my God, like what is going on? So, oh man. But I think a lot of and don't get me wrong, I do think that like American culture, the way that like the parents have kind of abdicated their roles in everybody in their children's lives now, and they're just letting them do whatever. But you got that affects it. Mm-hmm. But I think at some point there is just like, everybody looks at the new people coming in as like, God, y'all suck at this.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious, what is going on here?
So, how many gun stores are participating in the initial rollout here in Alabama?
Yeah, currently right now we have 3. We have one in Huntsville. We have one down in Montgomery, Walter Craig down there. And then up here we got Redland Rifles, right? So we're slowly bringing this on. It's probably going to take a few months for us to onboard a few more. We have a few other stores that are interested. We've got to get around and just get them set up and do the onboard. And that's what Safer Together does. We come in, on board. A big part of our program is what's called peer support. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that term, but someone who's been kind of in that fighting hole. They've recovered from alcohol, drugs, depression, anxiety, dealt with TBI, whatever. They've gotten on the other side, right? And what a peer can do, someone who has been there can talk to another guy or gal who's struggling, and they're more apt to listen to them about going and getting help, right? Because you're talking to somebody who's lived that experience, they've been through this, and now, hey man, I've been in the bottom of that barrel, man. I've been in the bottom of that bottle. Let me find you some help, And so the peer support program that's going to be tied to Safer Together, that will immediately happen as soon as they come in the store. Not a whole lot of questions asked when you come in and drop it off. You'll meet with somebody here, drop that weapon off. There's a question, would you like to be connected to a peer support specialist? And we've got first responders who are peers. We have veterans who are peers and military who are peers. We also have some civilian peers because sometimes a veteran may not want to talk to a civilian,
right?
Or to a military peer. So we have them as well. And so
is the program?
I'm sorry because I think we're probably going to answer the same question. Go ahead, Will.
Is the program solely for current and former military and first responders and whatnot, or can Joe Dude down the road that's just going through it bring his guns and stick them in the safes as well.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I want to help everybody. Look, and the beauty of the bill that we wrote it for everybody. It wasn't just military, veterans, and first responders. That's the one thing we changed from the Louisiana bill. We wanted to open it up. Safer Together's main focus obviously is, but I've got civilian peers who can help out. So we got Joe down the road, blue collar worker. They're struggling too, man. Everybody has struggles, right? So yeah.
Well, in the ATF, like they've already. This is a while back. They put out a letter or whatever saying that like this is something that can be done, right? FFLs can do this, but I mean, obviously, like given the last administration, I don't know how many were doing that because I mean everything was zero tolerance. There's no way I would have done this in the last administration. But also having this bill that protects us, right? It's fantastic, right? It makes a lot of sense. Because there are a lot of like just things that can go crazy and wrong with all of this stuff. So.
And listen, if you save one life, God's going to give you your flowers. We got to take a break. You're listening to Breaking Bread on Talk 99.5. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back into the Breaking Bread radio program. One time for Craig and Keith and the crew at Birmingham Broker, and also the fine folks at Noto Roofing, Noto Roofing.com. If you're looking to get rid of your ride, check out Birmingham Broker. If you got an issue with your roof, reach out to the roofing professionals at Noto Roofing. We're going to punt on the rest of their spots for today, and I'm sure that they would be more than happy to do so for such good, worthwhile calls. Also, we made an executive decision during the break to continue this conversation on the live stream after the radio program has concluded. So
y'all can find that on on Redland Rifles Twitter,
Chubb
Fathers, Breaking Bread Radio's Twitter. It'll be on Facebook and on the YouTube channel. So there'll be plenty of places to watch it.
Yep.
All right. Let me before we close things, I did want to ask real quick. So how does this process work? So I know you partner up with gun stores like Redland. I know it's onboarding. So kind of walk us through the process. I kind of go on both sides as far as with the gun stores or where you kind of partner, and as far as someone who needs help, how would that look like and how does that work?
Yeah, sure. I'll start with if they need help, right? They walk into a gun store that's a participant in Safer Together. They'll just come in like, daily business in the gun store is always people walking in and doing stuff. They'll simply walk in, say, hey, I'd like to utilize that program back there, Safer Together, whatever. At that point, what we do is we train the staff. Like, you're not a mental health professional or anything. Just do what you would normally do with any transaction in the store. We have a hold harmless agreement, which is basically just their name, information, so we know whose gun is in there. But according to the DOJ and ATF letter, the only person that'll have access to that firearm is the owner, and the owner has to bring it in. So the owner will bring that firearm in. They can store that weapon for as much time as needed. So if they need to store it for a day, 2 days, 6 months, whatever, they can annotate that on the sheet. They'll walk them back to the back. We've got 4 safes here at Redland Rifles. They'll actually set the code themselves. They'll be the only ones that have the code. They'll put that weapon in there. At that point, they'll also receive a resource package for the region that they're in. So if they're in Montgomery, there's a specific resource pager that we have for all the resources right there in Montgomery. We use like the Vet Center's 220, the VA's number, the hotline, but then they'll get connected to a peer support specialist. So down in Montgomery area, that'll be me. I've got Zach Goff, who's up in Huntsville. So it just depends on where they're at, who connects with them next. And that next step in the process is the real big thing. Now we're getting them to where they need to go. We know with the numbers, about 55% of the suicides in the veteran community, 55% of them have never been to the VA. Have never been to the VA to receive services. So that's something right there we've got to take a look at and at least get them there or get them to the right next step. So that's how that process will work. Now, as far as onboarding the store, they can go to Safer at beardedwarriors.com. Bearded Warriors is our 501c3. They're our fiduciary. The Safer Together program actually falls under them. They can shoot an email. We have a one-pager that we're going to put out. We've actually got a copy of it right here. They can email us, say, hey, we're interested, or we've got questions. We'll be glad to speak to anybody, come talk to them if they want to get on board. We'll go out and talk with them, see how much space if you can just only have space for one safe, we'll buy the safe. We'll put the safe in there, and then we'll train the staff on procedures and how to do all this, and then just kind of go from there. We're not looking for all 1,400 FFLs in the state of Alabama, man, but I tell you what, to have one at least in every region, and then, I would love to see in a few years, one in every county. So especially these rural areas, that's where a lot of our veterans are at, right? So we'd love to see that happen. But that's the 2 processes.
And very important to make sure, just to make clear, this has nothing to do with any type of red flag law. Nobody's taking your gun. Nobody's keeping your gun. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to lock you up. Redland Rifle would not be participating, I would venture to say, if that was the case.
Jason would not be participating.
So this is absolutely just to be hopeful. You're not in danger of losing your Second Amendment rights.
Correct.
We're trying to, you and everybody else that's involved is trying to make sure that you stay around to be a full 2A participant in the future.
Yeah, 100%.
And to be honest, we support your Second Amendment right, but we understand there is a give and a take within your Second Amendment right. We want to make sure you don't hurt yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a big event coming up at Redland.
There
soon,
is.
Isn't there?
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Y'all
tell him?
talk about it.
Look, it was like 2 Marines, like deer in the headlight look, like, no, you tell him. No, I ain't saying nothing. Yeah, so really, what's really cool here is that on June 6th,
D-Day.
From 1 to 5, they are actually, for all intents and purposes, y'all are launching this program here.
That's correct. We're launching it right here. The bill goes into effect tomorrow.
That's outstanding. And so we're going to have a litany of folks here from down Montgomery, from the ADVA, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to have Michelle and Michelle Tomlin and
Shannon
here,
McDaniels,
which is I'm really looking forward to this.
Yes,
like, it's really cool.
Yeah,
and let me speak for everybody else on the team, JD. We are very proud that you're on this team, and you've made the decision to participate in this process. Just a few more flowers for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, as a Marine, like, I don't want to hear that nonsense.
Yeah. I said it. I don't care. You
Hey,
listen
take
or
the
not.
flowers, JD.
Yeah.
Take them when you can get them.
Throw those
Man,
flowers
thank you
in.
for what you do, man.
Man, we
Thank y'all,
appreciate
man.
you, seriously.
Appreciate y'all.
Well, make sure y'all stay on the stream because it's going to be Breaking Bread After Dark. They're going to finish the conversation
Some
as well
bonus
too.
coverage.
Before we go, we got about 30 seconds, real quick. Where can they get more information?
Yeah, you can go to safertogetheralabama.org. That's our website. Brand new. We just got it started about 2 weeks ago. So on there, it'll have everything you need to know about the program, the process, and it'll be getting updated. There it is right there. I think JD just pulled it up. So you can find the store, resources, media, and donate if you'd like to donate. Help us buy these safes because we're keeping this grassroots.
Make sure you go support all of our sponsors. Peace.
Count on Talk 99.5.
All right. Welcome back in. Well, I don't know if we're welcoming you back in. We're back on the live stream. The radio program has ended, but we're doing a little Breaking Bread after dark with Mr. Jason Smith from Safer Together. A wonderful new program that rolls out here in very short order to help you store your guns and keep you from doing something bad to yourself with them. No red flag laws involved. No nonsense. They're just trying to keep you safe. So you bring the gun into the store.
Yep.
Is there a period? Is there a waiting period of any kind, or if I drop my gun off on a Tuesday because I feel like it's the proper thing for me to do, and I show back up on a Wednesday, on the next Wednesday, I punch in my code and I get my gun back?
That's correct. Yeah. So there's no mandatory hold in this process. You run into some issues with that, right? And,
Sure.
And what we don't want to do is have people who are like, man, I'm not going to use that because they're going to put a mandatory hold.
Right.
One thing that a lot of, I say a lot of people, a lot of Second Amendment folks like myself, we're worried about like something going on the Nick's background check. That's
Sure.
at 4473. The way we're doing it by law, there's no 4473 required, so you're not even filling that thing out when you come in.
Right.
So you can come back the next day, get that. You can come back in 6 months and get that. Now, to caveat that, if you show up and you're highly intoxicated, just like anything else, you're not going to be able to have a gun, like
Right.
get a gun across the gun counter. I worked at Walter Craig for 2 years. Like if we smelled alcohol in the breath, or you came in and said you want to get a gun to go hurt somebody, obviously I'm not going to do that, right?
Sure.
So as long as we're doing our due diligence, that's on the FFL to run this show. We want to be, with this program, the minimal lift for the gun store itself, right? And it's on the veteran. It's all about personal accountability, them coming in, dropping off, or that first responder, or that active duty military or reserve military member, dropping that thing off, taking some time, getting connected with a peer support specialist, and then getting the help they need. Then coming back, man. Like I'm a big hunter, so I tell you what, man, I like to go out west and hunt. So, but I can tell you, when I was going through all my stuff with my drinking, there was a point where I didn't want to go hunting anymore. It was getting down. That isolation was starting to happen. Getting sober, getting help, going through all that, getting back where I need to be. I'm out in the woods all the time now. I'm back at
Right.
it again. The things I enjoy. Once again, purpose. Right. So.
Is there anything extra? I know that you said that there's a hold harmless form, and the FFL the ATF has cleared everything for the gun stores to do so. Is there anything extra that a participating gun store needs to do? Do you have to add extra insurance liability insurance of any kind, or is it really that fail-proof from a liability standpoint for the gun store?
Yeah, so working with Walter Craig, I know we reached out to his insurance company about it, and they said they were covered just fine what they had.
Yeah.
So on JD, you can speak more as an FFL.
Yeah, no, I mean we've got more insurance than I know what to do with, and it's a great question too, and I would tell you that without the law, right,
Right.
just the amount of risk without that kind of coverage, I don't really know what insurance would look like without that, because I mean obviously if something happens, we're gonna hit up the insurance to cover it. They're probably gonna get sued and that sort of stuff. So it's like the law helps a lot.
So there's really no good reason other than you just don't want to, or you're not interested as a gun store owner to not participate. You guys have really made it that easy for somebody to help, and that's a beautiful thing, because we're big on feeding the people in our business, and I've always maintained that when you make things convenient for people, their willingness to help rises exponentially.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I want the stores that have the capacity to do this program.
Sure.
Some stores.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like resource-wise,
space-wise, floor-wise, some may not be able to do it because of that.
Sure.
But, it's.
Well, and to be perfectly fair, I mean, I can also wrap my head around why somebody wouldn't want to do this.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Right. I mean, because at some level you are inviting, you're actively inviting somebody that may have a problem. You're saying, hey, come here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, I can wrap my head around it.
Yep.
I'm not entirely sure there are many gun store owners there around that are as pro Second Amendment as I am. Right. And I'm very much the person that thinks that like having to have a gun store is kind of dumb. We should be able to go buy these things at Walgreens.
Right.
Right. Like it shouldn't matter at all. But I mean, at the end of the day, we've got the ability, the capacity to help, to lend a hand. Then like, why shouldn't we? Right. I mean, that really is the thing. That's the question. Like, I mean, why not? Right. Like,
Absolutely.
we're here. Let's do it. Whatever.
And maybe to shine a little perspective on it, I went to Wisconsin last March, and Wisconsin has a program similar to this without the law. That's the one thing they don't have up there. And they got about 50 stores on board throughout the state of Wisconsin. They have about 15 stores that are blue label, so stores who carry firearms for law enforcement. And I met with 2 of the gun store owners, talked about the program. I was like, well, and we met with a team that came up with that program 5 years ago. I was like, how many guns do y'all typically get a year? And out of the 50 stores, the average number was between 1 and 4 guns per store per year. So you're looking at 200 guns across the state, and that may not seem like a big number.
No, 200 more people alive is a huge number.
Right.
Huge number, right? That's
a huge number.
Yeah, I was like, man, if we only get 20, like that's a huge number. Like to me, it's like that's a big win. So
1 is huge.
One's huge. Yeah.
I mean, it's
So
Yeah, I mean, I don't really. I have my own opinions about that, but I totally lost my train of thought here. Nope, I'm not going to get it back. It was a good question. I'm almost certain of it. Yeah, it'll come back to me. But I mean, how long? This isn't the question, but when did you start down this path? Right when you were like, hey, let's do this. Was it your trip to? You said Minnesota?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin,
so,
yeah.
So it started my first day with the Guard here in Alabama. It was my 3rd day here. We had a suicide. And I remember General Smith looking over at me, just asked me this question. He's like, what do we do about this? I think everybody's just kind of like frustrated. Like, what do we do? These numbers are not, like, it's not, what do we do? And I reached out to Colonel Raul Amin. He is the director of psychiatry at Walter Reed. He used to be one of my Marines, so I used to be his mentor until I got in the sobriety world. Now he's mine. So I called him. I was like, hey, Raul, what do we do, man? This shit we're doing is not working. And he said, Jason, you think about the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. What did they do? Because that was the #1 suicide destination in California. He said they put a fence around it. He said, and if you look at our numbers here in the state, 86% of ours are lethal means firearms, right? So what do you do? I said, well, we're in a Second Amendment red state. Like, brother, that's going to be tough to do. But we've got to figure something out because the brochures aren't working. Something's got to give, and that's when we started. And it just so happens my co-chair, Kelly Arthur, who works for the VA, had called me and told me about this program in Wisconsin. And I don't know what y'all's belief is in a higher power or faith or whatever, but
Jesus affects me.
The fact that I was going to Wisconsin a month later to do resiliency training blew my mind, and that's when it got started. I got back, I called Kelly. I said, I think we've got something here. And we started looking at all the other states that do this type of stuff. And then we kind of pulled from all and kind of kept it, what we wanted down here. And that one was the biggest thing, was protecting the Second Amendment right. We don't want our service members, our veterans, our first responders losing their ability to own a firearm, purchase a firearm, or any of that stuff. We just want to put that thing away for a minute, go get some help, right? And so that's when it started. So literally started around March of last year. We started working this.
Man, well, I mean, that's insane to start. I mean, just a little over a year ago, and then you've already got a law or a bill that's put into law and rolling this thing out.
Yeah, because I mean that was actually going to be my next question. Was bureaucracy and red tape and all the things seem. Have you found? I mean, clearly you did, I guess, but you found that for a change, everybody was just kind of on board and helpful, trying to get things done instead of being an ass about it.
Yeah, I'm not into politics, and this is my first time ever even watching a filibuster of any of that mess. I didn't know what any of that stuff was. So I'm gonna tell you, we had 2 awesome dudes in the House, Russell Bedsole and Trey Hendricks. One's a Republican, one's a Democrat. Both of them are police officers up here in Birmingham, and those 2 gentlemen in the House got things rolling. And then Senator Keith Kelly, amazing, got everything rolling in the Senate. And before we knew it, we had about 18 co-sponsors in the House, and I think majority of the Senate had gotten on board, Democrats and Republicans. And it was, I hate to say, it was a beautiful thing, man. It was sitting there watching that vote go down, and having both moms and the family, and watching all the yeses on both sides of the House, man, it was unbelievable. And it's just because I think everybody realizes what veterans and active military members and our first responders do for our community. And we don't want to lose them to this, right?
No, absolutely
we don't. So we were able to get everybody on board. And, this bill is nothing more than a liability bill. It's not a gun bill. It's not a red
Right.
flag. It's not any of that mess, man. And so, yeah, to see that all come together was amazing. It
I,
really
rem-
was.
I remember what my question was earlier.
Well, ask it.
I'm going to.
What you waiting on?
You did not talk. So I'm sure there are people out there that are wondering the tax burden, right? Tax dollars to this thing.
Yes.
So
Yes.
are there any tax dollars going to this? This is all
N-
funded through donations and everything.
This is going to be all funded through donations. I think, JD, we had a conversation about this. We don't want our kids paying for something, right?
Right.
And I'm on board with that. And I think you keep this at the grassroots level with Bearded Warriors and our steering committee and our team at Safer Together, because you don't want to get convoluted either. And when you start receiving money from the federal government and the state government, then there's like somebody wants a favor, and we're not here to do that.
The
okay?
strings
And,
attached.
Yeah, we're not doing any of that. So no, we take strictly funds. We've got a couple of great donations that helped us buy the first batch of safes, to help us get the website up and running. We're not paying anybody. Like this is something we're doing, man. This is our purpose.
Is there an opportunity for business owners such as myself that don't own a gun store? Would I have the ability to sponsor a safe?
Sure. We had talked about we're working with Pro Steel right now and calling on a few other safe companies. What we'd love to have is a company buy the safes and put their logos or whatever on it. Man, we could do any of that.
And I'm clearly I don't care anything about the safe saying Chubb
I was going
Father.
to say, oddly enough, like if there's enough people seeing your logo on the Safer Together safes, I mean that's good, but it's like that's a ton of people coming in.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like because I'm not bringing people back to the.
No, absolutely.
But I
absolutely
mean,
not.
but the reality is though is that like it's kind of like with everything else that we do here, like if we do something with Alabama Veteran or anybody else, y'all, like I'm not doing this, like I'm doing it for the right reason,
Absolutely.
right? Because you should. It is
Sure.
the right thing to do, from my perspective, right? So like, see, I'm not looking for ROI or anything when we sponsor, something out there, like just put the logo on there and let's go. But like, don't come try to sell me on like, well, I'm like,
But
man,
but you know what? It is the best ROI that you could ever receive.
Yeah.
If you save a life.
Yeah.
That is the best return on investment, this gun store's ever made.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Well, and I think too that I was talking to Kelly the other day, and she said there's already somebody in Huntsville that was asking like when looking for a place to store some things. So
Nice.
you know about that or
Not yet. I talked to her yesterday. Now I know they were doing a big class up there. So
and I may have just misunderstood what she was saying.
I think
Maybe
there
it
were
was a
two
peer helper or
students.
something
Yeah,
looking.
there were two students that had at FFLs that were interested. I think that's what.
Oh,
that's,
gotcha,
so we've got to
gotcha.
go out and kind of talk to them.
are there possibilities for, especially in the more rural areas, you may have a better chance of finding a pawn shop
Yes.
than finding an actual gun store. Is it open? And because the pawn shop obviously has to have their FFL to sell guns and whatnot, is that something that's on that's on the radar? Are pawn shops and places like that places that can participate?
Yeah, 100% on the radar, especially in the rural areas. I think you're going to run into a lot of places out there that don't have a gun store like this within 100 miles. You might
I
be
mean, you're not going to run into many like this.
No, not going to run
I
into
mean,
me
I'm
like
just
this
saying.
for sure. But Lamar County, like I don't know what they've got there, but there
Right.
might be a pawn shop that's an FFL, or there might be somebody who builds guns out of their house that's a veteran that says, you know what, I got room for 2 safes here. You can use my, you know what I mean, or maybe have a shop or something. So yeah, we're up as long as they're an FFL. We did get tagged and said, well, what about storing at the American Legion buildings or the Post, VFW? I said they're not. So we run a risk there, right? Let's just keep it in house, keep it in the FFL realm, and kind of go from there.
So we kind of talked about it on the radio or touched on the radio show. So you said you're coming up on 27 years married,
Yes,
and you spent 20 years in the Marine Corps.
20 years in the Marine Corps.
How long have you been out?
I retired in 2015. Oh God, 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
So-
I just got my 30-year certificate from the Marine Corps.
Did you really?
I got my little pen that I can barely see because of my eyes. So it's got a little Marine Corps EGA, and I'm like, is this the best? Like,
What's an EGA? I think it's an Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, right?
yeah, you know.
I mean,
oh,
come on,
that's right. I
come on,
can't do
Devil Nuts.
acronyms. Acronyms on the live radio.
So what did you get out? What did you get out as?
Mass Sergeant.
Okay.
Yeah.
The top.
The top.
Not the top of the
Not the
obviously
top,
the
top, but the top. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Not bad. Not bad.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
So were you married? It doesn't sound like you were married the whole time you were in the Marine Corps.
Pretty much. I got married right before I picked up. So we got married in 98. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and what I'm getting at here is that so I didn't get married until I was out. Like it was not something I was interested in while I was in.
Right.
That sort of thing. But what I did have is a so I had a job. I was on Lejeune, and I actually had a second job that I'd go to on the weekends and after work, right? For a number of reasons, but
Mostly so you could afford water someplace else.
Oh my God.
that's so good.
Was I not supposed to?
That's so good.
Was I not supposed to say that?
No, I've been assured that I wasn't there during the
water.
years.
The water debacle.
No, but so I think a lot of this is an identity problem,
Yes.
right? This is so much an identity problem that when guys get out or girls, they've lost their purpose or whatever, but at the end of the day, their identity is wrapped up so much in being this thing, right? A Marine, a soldier,
Yeah.
a Navy. I don't know what they call Navy.
Sailor.
A sailor, a Coast Guard, whatever. But like they're so wrapped up in this thing,
Right.
right? That like, and then they leave, and then their identity is like, well, holy shit, what do I do now, right? And so now, don't get me wrong, I had my own set of issues for quite a while, and my wife is amazing, and for whatever reason, stuck through all that nonsense.
Because you're awesome.
Well, I mean, it's true. But one of the things that I think, at least personally, is that my identity was never wrapped in being a Marine.
Mhm.
I didn't really want to be a Marine in the beginning. I lived with another family for a couple years at the end of high school, and Kevin, all he wanted to do was be a Marine. His older brother was a Marine. Like, there was no question that he was going to the Marine Corps. And me, I was like, I really don't want to get a bunch of loans and just be debt-ridden and just blow that money because I was not good at school either. But the reality is that, like, there was no way I could come home and Kevin being a Marine, and I mean, I would have to be a Navy SEAL to outdo anything that Kevin's doing, right? Even if he was a cook, they'd be like, yeah, but he's cooking the Marine Corps. Like, all right, so like that's really why I went in, right? I was like, well, I mean, it's gonna work, but this is why I'm going to the Marine Corps. So it was not something from like a super young, like I was just yearning from a young age to be a Marine or anything like that. But also, if I'm gonna do it, I might as well do it for real.
Right.
And so, but I think that one of the things that helped me, at least, is that I was going out and doing other stuff, like not necessarily staying more civilian, but I just didn't wrap my identity in all this, right? And so, like, do you think like 9 minutes to get to this question, right? Y'all are welcome.
It was a journey.
Yeah. Hey, look, everything's a journey. But do you think some of your problems, or like that you ran into, were like that identity issue?
Yeah,
Right.
I think 100%. Like that's a part of it. My reason for joining the Marine Corps real quick. I had no plans on joining the military. I was going to go play baseball in college and go off and do whatever. And
You got them good Jeff Bagwell forearms.
yeah,
so
yeah,
true,
yeah,
so true.
yeah. And turned that scholarship down. I wasn't ready for school, and so I like the team aspect, team mentality. And so when I got in the Marine Corps, I found this gun club that was like, man, I'm on a team, and that tribal kind of lifestyle for 20 years, and then having those brothers to your left and your right that you could lean on, that you could talk to, that you just shoot the shit and be irreverent.
All right, we're not on. We're not on the
Okay, I
radio
can
anymore.
say that. My
You can
bad.
say bad words.
All right. Whew. So, I think when we get out, we lose our identity and whatever that looks like. And then we lose our that essence of the tribe of being around a team and being connected, to getting into a world where you're not connected, or maybe you haven't found something that you're interested in. Like JD was doing a bunch of different multiple things, and a lot of people don't. They get out and they're like, what's my next step? I had no idea what I was going to do when I got out of the Marine Corps. I knew I wanted to teach and do something like that, and it led me down this crazy path, but to where I'm at now. But I think that with the tribal and the identity, and then the fact that we hold everything so close to here and we don't talk about it, we let that stuff build up. And if you don't know about the Marine Corps, we were born in a bar, man. You know that? I mean, we like to drink a little bit too much. In the military in general, we kind of, we glorify alcohol in this country. And I got nothing against it, because I'm just not the one that can drink anymore, But a lot of times that's what they turn to, And
Well, I mean, we did a bunch of it in the Marine Corps.
oh God,
I
crazy!
mean, like,
are you kidding me?
I mean,
Did you know you can buy 25 shots of tequila at the birthday ball?
that's the maximum.
That was the max. Well, I wasn't supposed to get more than I think it was 6 or 8 or whatever. The guy got in trouble, but the master sergeant's walking around with 25 shots. And my wife was like, "What the?" Because she knew I'd done pulled out a card on that one, and that was just halfway through the night. So you know how the Marine Corps ball.
Well, and
is.
you definitely you were doing some pre-flight.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I
got
can
my boys shots.
Right, I can remember like getting ready for the ball, and it's like, all right,
Horrible.
there's 247 beers that have just suddenly gone missing.
My mom hung out with a bunch of SEALs in Vietnam. She said it was her favorite thing to do when she got off. Is she would go to the bar and shoot tequila with the SEALs in Nam, and she said it was quite the crazy experience. But I do have forgive me, I forget what the gentleman's name is. I've seen him on Sean Ryan a bunch of times. He was on Megyn Kelly recently, and he's a former SEAL, and I think that he says, I want to say that that he said he hadn't lost anybody that it was on any of his teams to suicide, and he believed that a large portion of that was because of the way that he treated the situation when it happened. Like if they went out and somebody had to kill somebody, like when they came back, they gathered as a group, they had a drink, they talked about it, and he said it was very important to him to make sure that they knew, listen, you did nothing more than what you were trained to do, and tried to kind of
Decompress like immediately.
Immediately. Do you guys think that? I mean, it sounded to me from the way that he was talking, and I make cheeseburgers for a living, so obviously. But it sounded from the way that he was talking like that's not a normal practice. It's not as much of a, and I don't guess I would expect for there to be like counseling on the spot, because it's kind of what if you're
Unless you did something wrong.
Yeah,
that kind of counseling. Maybe like,
But do you think that's something that they could adopt somewhere, that maybe it becomes a little bit more effective, is decompressing that from the jump?
I know I got back from my first deployment in Ramadi. We got back and we had to take a class called Beware the Dog, and it was talking about how you act, your anger, and all this other stuff. And be honest with you, when you get off that bus and you got those half a days for the first 10 days you're back, you just want to go to the house. You don't want to be there, right? But initially when something happens, the chaplains are typically there, but everybody's going to take situations different. And, something we don't talk about a lot is moral injury too. Something going against your beliefs, your moral values, your character, everything about you. You just had to do something. And that's something that you may be able to handle at that moment in that spot. And what he was talking about, I do love that the fact that he had that conversation with his guys. But once again, a lot of us still bear that and hold on to that, and it comes out in different ways, right, later on down in life. And oh man, Yeah, it's a definitely tough situation to.
That's also a
have an answer
different
to
level of like leadership too,
Yeah. It
right?
is.
Like I mean that is like I don't know who you're talking about. Like I haven't seen that episode or whatever, but I mean just hearing that, like that dude sounds like number one. I mean, being a SEAL, you're a different human being anyway.
Sure.
Just I don't care what anybody says. Like you're just a different human being. But he sounds like that individual is a next level leader with an unbelievable capacity for empathy.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's and I have to imagine that like that is very, very rare. Well, I mean, I don't have to imagine. Like I know it is.
Right.
Right. Like that is something that's just not taught either from the empathy side. We're like putting yourself in other people's shoes and that sort of thing. Especially in the Marine Corps.
Is it really? Does that whole like just suck it up, buttercup mentality extend to those situations as well? Okay, you just shot somebody, you killed somebody. It's what we pay you to do. Suck it up, move on.
I mean, that's a good question, actually, and I mean, I've got my opinions on that. I don't know that while I was in, I don't know that if I'd have gone to my gunny masters that they would have just told me to suck it up, buttercup, right? Like I don't think it's necessarily taught that like you're not supposed to say anything either, right? Like it just isn't. We just don't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. In general. Right. And maybe it's because of that, like, hey, you're a Marine, you're tough, yada, yada, or soldier or whatever. Like, I think it just got more to do with being like a man
Right.
than anything else.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it happened. Right. I'm sure there was a Master Guns, some crusty old Master Guns that was like, you know, I remember one of the staff sergeants or whatever had a coffee mug that said on the outside, have a nice cup of shut the fuck up, you know? And so like he carried that all around all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I'm convinced that there would be an appreciable number of people in leadership that would just say, hey, get the fuck out of my office.
Well,
shut up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And forgive me, I didn't mean to imply necessarily that
No, you weren't. I'm just telling you. I don't like because it is when it is said like, hey, you know, suck it up, buttercup, right? I don't like. I mean, sure, you heard that, but I don't know that there's anybody in leadership or anything that would have been like. I think it's more of like your buddies, more than anything. Like your Lance Corporal Underground and all the those guys. I mean, maybe that's more of it.
I don't know. I think there's an irreverent factor that we kind of thrive on in the military that helps us get by. First responders use it a lot too. So we do say a lot of messed up shit to each other, man. But it does help us get by, right?
Sure, right.
So I can't picture a leader that I had. I ever had a hard situation. I wasn't able to they kick me out of the office or anything. Like
right.
I
mean, if you had the balls to or the intestinal fortitude to go say something,
sure.
Then I mean, I think that like. You'd have been off to the races getting help.
Yeah,
you know?
I think it's more when you get out. Where is that gunny you can talk to?
Right.
I think where's that tough love? Where's that coming from? There's so many factors when we talk about this situation with suicidal ideations and all the other stuff that they can add up quick, right? And so, oh man, it just doesn't happen overnight. This is somebody's been battling for a while. And it could be a whole lot of other things that maybe had nothing to do with the military. Right. It could be something before or after, So
I bet there's a big part of that too. Like
there's a big, I mean, how many people stay on their phones all day and don't connect with human beings throughout the day? How many people sit in bed, don't go get sunshine, don't get exercise, don't eat right?
They're all on medication.
Concoction of medication from wherever. I'm not calling anybody, but it's out there. It's happening, right? That's another big part of our program that we're going to do called After Actions. Once you turn that weapon in, you get some help, you come back and get it. We're going to stay in touch with you and get you out to some of these organizations to help get you off the couch, man. Go fish, go hunt, join up with Alabama veterans on some of these retreats, go to Boulder Crest, Warrior Path, get reconnected to your people, man. That's a big part of this, man, is get them out of that mindset.
Man, listen, I really, really appreciate the time that you've given us today. I even more appreciate what you're doing. my uncle took his life, and so thanks.
Yeah,
And, come back and see us anytime. I know we're running out of time.
100%.
But you're absolutely welcome in front of this microphone at any point in time that you have a good excuse to do so.
Outstanding. I will find one.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Like, and I'm just from like my perspective, the store's perspective. I mean, I appreciate y'all trusting us to hopefully not screw this launch up for you.
Yeah. I think you'll be fine.
Oh, probably, but I mean,
Yeah.
Do you need some
pretty
food?
awesome.
Do you need some food at the event?
We're on a budget, but
Well, listen, I didn't ask you all that. Respectfully, I just asked you if you needed some food.
we'll have a lot of people here, so
All right, we'll see what we can do.
see what you can do.
See, look, he's not even willing to ask for that.
Yeah.
So he's definitely not going to ask for help.
That's awesome.
It's true.
That's why we're safer together and not safer individuals.
That's right. Yeah, 100%.
Very good. But yeah, no, I think it's awesome. I really can't wait. You know what I really can't wait for though is that asshole that comes in and wants to talk to me about how this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
Or like like please.
Those are
please.
but you know what? Those are the instances where signing our own paychecks is the best thing ever.
100%. Like come on, bro. Let's go talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, I can't wait.
Awesome. Awesome.
Maybe that's a little what is it? A little aggressive or a little whatever, but I
No.
mean,
listen, man, at the end of the day, I don't need everybody's money.
no. And there's a lot of stupid things that are being said,
Yeah.
you know,
unfortunately.
on the interwebs.
Yeah.
By
Right.
a bunch of keyboard warriors, right? That have nothing better to do with their time, right? Meanwhile, there are people in the arena getting their ass kicked just by everyday things, like these folks, these trolls, right?
Yeah.
They got nothing better to do
Yeah.
except criticize.
Well, listen,
You're
trolls,
doing awesome.
And let me just extend. Let me extend this to you. Look, if you believe that you are on the other side of this being a good idea, I'm more than happy to host you in our studio,
Yeah.
sitting next to Jason or you or myself or anybody else that you want to send. If you will come and be a man and have that conversation face to face, you're more than welcome to do so.
Let's rock and roll, man.
I love it, man. And just one last thing, if you don't mind, thank y'all for letting me be here. But when I see those comments, I don't dwell on them too much.
Sure.
Because every other day or every once a week, when I get a phone call from a Marine or a veteran that's gotten sober, who's living a better life because we help them get into treatment or we help them find that new path, that's the people we're worried about, man.
Sure.
And I do worry about the people that troll a little bit because I worry about their mental health too.
Right,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? So I pray for them. But
Yeah.
man, yeah, it's all open, man. We're wide open as a book. Talk about it. So I just appreciate y'all having us on, letting us share this, man. It's amazing. So
Thanks
appreciate
for,
what y'all do.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah,
Yep.
man. All right, y'all.
Outstanding.
Keep fighting the good fight.
Hey, make sure you share this episode of this program. It's very informational and very important. And we always want you to share and spread the word about Breaking Bread Radio. But this in particular, if you've not done it before, please pass this information along.
Absolutely.
All right.
All
We'll
right.
talk to y'all next time. Peace.